Good morning, I'm Dani Laurel. It is Tuesday, the 10th of March, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. A record-breaking oil price adjustment has hit the pumps today, but the Department of Energy revealed a silver lining for struggling motorists. Select oil firms will implement their massive hikes in phases through Thursday, preventing an immediate and total price shock over at the gas stations. The Philippine peso plunged to a new all-time low of 59 pesos and 50 centavos against the US dollar on Monday. This depreciation will further inflate the costs of imported oil, which is already surging due to global supply disruptions. And in response to the escalating tensions in the Middle East, the PLDT Group has bolstered its connectivity programs for affected OFWs. Free call services have been extended and additional dedicated call stations are now operational in chosen PLDT and Smart stores. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, the biggest weekly oil price adjustment in the country is taking effect today. That's March 10th, amid the escalating tensions in the Middle East. Gasoline prices are going up by 7 to 13 pesos per liter, diesel from 17 to 24 pesos per liter, and kerosene by as much as 32 to 38 pesos per kerosene. The Department of Energy, though, announced a silver lining, and some oil companies have agreed to implement their price increases on a staggered basis, meaning over the next 3 days. For example, Petron will increase diesel prices by 11.60 per liter on March 10th, then 3 pesos and 80 centavos per liter on March 11th and March 12th. For gasoline, Petron is raising prices by 5.20 per liter on March 10th and 1 peso and 80 centavos each day for the succeeding 2 days. Drivers queue for a last-minute gas refill in Marikina as diesel, gasoline, and kerosene prices rise amid global oil supply concerns. Mobile journalist Evan Tarinque has this report.
It's past 9 p.m., but a long line of cars and motorcycles still snakes through a gas station in Marikina. Drivers wait patiently for their turn to fill up, hoping to get ahead of another round of fuel price hikes. Starting 6 a.m., prices of diesel, gasoline, and kerosene moved up again, following movements in global oil prices amid supply concerns linked to the conflict in the Middle East. June Javier is one of those who lined up to fill not just one, but 2 vehicles with diesel. He says fueling up early, even just a little, can help them save before prices climb further.
Kaysa magantay pa kami bukas. So, inaano na namin, anticipate na namin na gano'n ang mangyayari, inunahan na namin.
Rider Asay Jose also came prepared, bringing an empty plastic bottle, hoping to store extra gasoline. But gas station staff didn't allow it. With no other choice, he decided to just fill up his motorcycle.
Pero yun talaga bahala ko, papakargaan ko. Ngayon, since bawal na magpakarga, tapos tataas na, nagpa-full tank na lang ako.
Meanwhile, oil companies are implementing a 3-day staggered price hike, meaning the increase will be applied gradually instead of all at once. Kapatid Mobile Journal Ivan Tarinque, we are One News.
Now, as mentioned, the Department of Energy said some oil companies have agreed to implement fuel price hikes on a staggered basis. This aims to cushion consumers from the immediate impact of the Middle East conflict on fuel prices. Now, during its inspections on Monday, the DOE found that several gasoline stations were already implementing the increases ahead of schedule. The palace said it will continue to closely monitor the situation and take strict actions against violators, including the possible revocation of permits. It also urged the public to report possible violations to the Energy Department.
Para po makita natin kung sila ba ay lumabag sa panawagan na huwag magtaas ng presyo ng gasolina. Kasi kapag po napakita rito na sila po ay may mga fraudulent acts, maaari po silang makansela ng permit.
Reminder lang to, sa mga gas stations, makikinabang kayo sa isang araw, 2 araw, pero pag nahuli po kayo, forever na kayo hindi pwedeng magbenta. So, we appeal naman to your good side na let's not take advantage of the situation. Let's not make everybody panic because we have more than enough supply.
And let's now check the situation over at gas stations. We have with us Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos reporting live from Taguig City. Arles, what's going on there? Marami bang nakapila?
Dani, nandito nga tayo ngayon sa Central Village, sa Central Signal Village sa Taguig City, kung saan kung makikita ninyo sa aking likuran ay nananatili na mahaba pa rin ang pila ng mga motorsiklo, mga sasakyan at ng iba pang mga ginagamit ng ating mga motorista. Ayan ay para makapagpagas ng mas maaga at hindi na nga maranasan pa yung mas mataas pa na nagbapadya ng mga price hike sa paparating pang mga araw. Actually, Dani, itong nakikita ninyo sa aking likuran, itong gas station na ito dito sa Taguig City ay nag-accommodate ng humigit kumulang 10 mga barangay at hindi rin bababa sa 10 mga tricycle operators associations yung kinikater nito. Kaya halos hindi talaga nawawala na ng tao rito. Kahit kagabi raw ay mahaba na agad ang pila dito, aabot na hanggang doon mga 300 metro mula nga rito. Yung mga motorista dito talagang mas pinipili na mas maaga na magpagas dahil yung iba kasi, Dani, ayon sa kanila ay hindi naman daw lagi nagpapa-full tank. Pero dahil nga sa inaasahan na mas mataas na presyo, talagang mas minabuti na raw nila to. Yung iba ay kanya-kanyang diskarte. May mga nakausap tayo, Dani, na parang 100 pesos muna kada araw or kada alis nila yung kanilang ipapagas, and then magpapagas sila ulit on the succeeding days or mga time na aalis sila para daw kahit papaano makatipid. Hindi yung agad-agad na malaki yung gagastusin nila and then mauubos lang din naman yung kanilang mga gasolina at syempre parang mauulit-ulit yung kanilang pagpasada. Bibigyan ko lang kayo, Dani, ng mabilis na tour dito. Ganito lagi yung sitwasyon dito, pero ngayon sa mga nakausap natin dito na riders, mas pinipili nila na pumila nga ng ganitong kaaga. Yung ilan, naririnig natin dito na sila na naman daw yung talo at lugi nga sa ganitong sitwasyon dahil yung kanilang pangamba, kapag ka nagtaas daw ng presyo, hindi na naman bababa, o kung bababa, papiso-piso o ilang sentabo lamang, kaya hindi rin sila hindi rin nila mapakikinabangan yung o mababawi yung big time oil price hike na mararanasan nga ngayon dito. Dani.
Arles, quick question lang, when we were talking to you yesterday, meron mga nagpapatrol na PNP, na DOE, checking on the pricing and whether this are anomalous or fraudulent. And as per the data, I have 71 gas stations were flagged, show cause orders to 55. Has that improved na ba? Meron pa rin bang mga signs na out of stock ang gas? Meron pa bang fraudulent activities na nangyayari, at meron pa rin bang nakapatrol na PNP or DOE to make sure that the consumers are protected?
Actually, Dani, doon sa 55, sa uling press con ng DOE kahapon ay 55 na mga local gas stations yung kanilang hinainan o sinilbihan ng show cause order dahil nga sa mas mabilis or medyo napaaga na pagtataas ng presyo ng mga produktong petrolyo. 26 sa mga yan, Dani, ay nasa Kalakhang, Maynila. So ito yung mga sinasabi na bakit daw mas mataas agad yung kanilang presyo. Pero kasi paglilinaw ng DOE, Dani, merong umiiral na oil deregulation law. Ang kanilang gampanin ay hindi talaga kontrolin o diktahan kung magkano yung dapat. Pero meron silang mga paraan para nga masiguro na hindi nagmamalabis yung mga oil concessionaire natin dito sa bansa. Kailangan i-justify nila yung presyo na kanilang inilabas at kung paano nga ba nila nag-come up doon sa ganoong presyo. At kabukod doon, Dani, kung meron pa bang mga nakikita na mga fraudulent at pagpapatrol ng mga kapulisan, sa ngayon, Dani, ay wala pa tayong natatanggap na mga ganong ulat, pero itinanong na natin yan sa DOE, kasi syempre meron pa silang e-gov app, Dani, na tinatawag kung saan pwedeng mag-report yung publiko ng kanilang mga kahinahinala at kinababahala na mga gas stations na pwedeng magmalabis dito nga sa oil price hike. Inaabangan pa natin kung magkakaroon tayo ng development o report tungkol dyan, pero at least for now, bukas din naman yung hotline ng PNP sa 911 para i-report ka yung ganitong mga insidente.
Arles, before we let you go, can you give us a little idea or a tour dyan kung magkano na ba ang presyo ng gas, diesel, and kerosene?
Sa ating pakikipag-usap dito, Dani, ay nasa 5 pesos na yung itinaas ng presyo nila. So far dito, yung yung diesel max nila, yung mataas na kalidad ng diesel ay nasa 70 pesos. And then yung advance naman nila ay nasa 73, yung turbo diesel rather, no? 73 pesos. And then yung regular at premium ay naglalaro na sa 64 to 65 pesos and 50 centavos, no? Tinanong natin mismo kanina yung manager ng gas station na ito, ayon sa kanila, nagtaas na daw sila ng ranging from 5 pesos. No? And of course, succeeding days, pataas pa rin ng pataas hanggang sa mabuo na yung 17 to 24 pesos na oil price increase kaugnay ng mga produkto petrolyo. Dani.
All right, maraming salamat for those updates and information. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos. Some local government units have started implementing the 4-day work week to save power and fuel consumption. In the city of Manila, employees will work Monday to Thursday with extended hours. Offices handling essential services, including emergency response, healthcare, sanitation, and water, will continue their regular schedules. Meanwhile, some government employees worry about fitting 40 hours of work into just 4 days.
This type of disadvantage or challenges that we can utilize in our advantage. While we're going to extend a few hours of our day, but the upside is you will have more time with your family for the long weekend. So on a Friday, you can use it spending time with your family or even rest so that on coming Monday, you'll be fresh. Well rested.
May draining factor na yan sa trabaho. Uwi ka ng 6 o'clock. Pag uwi mo ng 6 o'clock, yung hirap ng travel, hirap makahanap ng masasakyan. So ano oras ka makakauwi? 8, 9. Tapos paano kung nanay ka or parent ka?
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories after this short break. Good morning, I'm Dani Laurel, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Meanwhile, the House Ways and Means Committee is set to pass a bill on Wednesday granting President Bongbong Marcos emergency powers to temporarily suspend or reduce the excise tax on petroleum products. The proposed suspension is expected to help ease the impact of rising fuel prices on consumers. And if implemented, diesel prices would drop by 6 pesos per liter, while gasoline would fall by 10 pesos per liter.
Kailangan itong sundan ng very close monitoring ng gobyerno para hindi tayong madaya at mapagsamantalahan.
The Department of Finance, however, noted that suspending the excise tax could result in a 136 billion peso decline in government revenues in 2026.
So for instance, if we're gonna suspend the excise tax on fuel starting May, the total revenue losses will be around 136 billion pesos, around 121.4 billion from excise tax and around 14.6 from VAT.
The Philippine peso closed at a new all-time low of 59 pesos and 50 centavos against the US dollar on Monday. The peso even slipped to as low as 59 pesos and 71 centavos during intraday trading. The weaker peso could make imported oil more expensive since fuel is paid for in US dollars. Local shares also tumbled, with the PSE index losing nearly 5% at the close of the trading day. And this comes amid global uncertainties linked to the ongoing Middle East conflict. To help us better understand what this weaker peso means for the economy and, of course, the impact of the oil issue with the geopolitical crisis in the Middle East, we are joined by economist Ronilo Balbieran from the University of Asia and the Pacific. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Doc Dani.
What a time to be discussing, no? Well, I mean, I have so many notes here. I don't even know how we're going to fit this in. But okay, let's kick
Iba
off
yung
with the
topic
oil.
natin last night.
Medyo, oo nga eh, medyo. All right, this is not the first rodeo the Philippines has had with oil hitting 100. You know, we've seen that also in the Russia-Ukraine war. That was the story. What is different now? Are you more worried about this issue right now? Is this a more temporary issue? I mean, we saw, you know, based on the statements of President Trump, based on how long this war is going to last, parang it's fluctuating naman. Do we have safeguards in place? Is this something you're very, very worried about, or compared to before, parang contained naman ba siya?
So many questions, no? But one thing is for sure, we've seen how the global economy and the global price of oil is very dependent on the words of the President Donald Trump. No? So, isang sabi niya lang kagabi, biglang nag-dive na yung oil prices. No? So, we are not. The problem here is that we are very very dependent on oil, and then that what complicates it is the dependency on the movement of the exchange rate. No? So that is a double whammy for us if this continues, and probably because we are all prayerful as a nation. So right before entering this particular day, no, that we are all set to go to the gas stations and fill up our cars with fuel. No? So then this particular movement downwards happen. So it only means that I think we are buying time. We are buying time in terms of putting together a shield for our economy in terms of the fluctuations of the exchange rate and the fluctuation of the oil prices. So I think it's high time for us to really think about our taxation and the powers of the president in relation to suspending excise taxes and VAT immediately. No, parang kasi kung ganito na every time this happens and then he goes to Congress to secure his power, to by that time he secures his power, wala na yung event, wala na yung situation, no? So I think our president must be equipped with that real-time power to suspend and then later on to let go on a real-time basis in relation to our excise tax and VAT. No? So because it really is a real-time situation, and real-time action is needed from the highest leadership of our country. No? So yun yung ano. And then number two, sa tingin ko parang as we monitor this, no? So we've seen countries readying their strategic reserves. No? So that puts to question what is really the strategic reserves for our country, and what is the role of government in relation to the strategic reserves for us. No? Definitely, the oil companies have reserves, no? But you cannot fully force them to up. So you still have that inventory, and you cannot actually increase the price on a real time basis. No? So, but you cannot do that if you government do not have that particular government strategic reserves. No? So I think I mimic that to BSP having the reserve of dollars while the banks have their dollars as well. No? So whenever the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas would actually try to manage our exchange rate, it can actually do so by actually managing its own reserve. No, so I think that's number one lesson for all of us, that countries all around us are actually talking about strategic reserves and what to do with it, and we don't have something to have
cushion
for that.
Well, we do have Secretary Garin later on in the show. I will pose that question to her. But in the meantime, let's talk about the economic issue here. Now, economically, we are it has been shown that we are the most vulnerable here among the Asian neighbors, because we have 98% of crude oil from the Middle East. ADB has also said that we're the ones that will feel the biggest macroeconomic shock. From an economic perspective, is there any other way that we can be less dependent on oil imports, of course, you talk about renewable energy, you talk about, but historically, have we been able to offset this dependence to be able to be a bit more insulated when crises like this happen?
Well, historically, we have beaten the bullet. So, but over the course of decades, we have actually reduced our dependence on oil. Kasi nung unang panahon, some 30 years ago, the entire economy of our country is dependent on oil. No? So it's not just for transportation, but for manufacturing, for production, for everything. No? So now it's mainly the transportation sector that is being hit directly, and then the second round effect would be the supply chain and logistics. So hindi siya 100% of our economy, as unlike some in the 1960s, 1970s, all the way to the 1980s. No? So right now, ang ano lang natin is transportation. So now I think because we have actually adapted and revolved around that particular situation, that we have been so dependent on oil, our entire economy. Now, so I think this is an opportunity for our economy to really revolutionize the transportation industry, and then towards the electric vehicles, the hybrid, etc. No, so and that will also further fuel the particular growth and acceleration of development of the renewables. No? So, and that will actually, I hope, no, the only problem with electric vehicles, solar panels, are the batteries. No? So, hopefully, with increased demand triggered by this situation, batteries and battery technologies will accelerate, and therefore the price of battery will go down, and so therefore we will be able to lessen our dependence on oil in relation to the transportation sector. Now, all the way to our economy, once upon a time, way back during the deliberation of the train law, no, so I think we've estimated that for every 10% increase in oil prices, no, so we estimate it to be around 0.4 to 0.5 increase in our inflation rate, no. So ang laging tama nun ay nandoon sa inflation, no. So if we are able to move around our policies and our government interventions around transportation, supply chain and logistics, then we will be able to actually manage the shock of oil price fluctuations. No? So marami dyan kasi maraming mga charges, sandamakmak, no? So port charges, air cargo charges. So I think we can rethink all of these charges, the role of the government, the share of the government in these charges. This complicates supply chain and logistics in our country, no. So but again, I acknowledge na medyo mag-aaray ang ating Department of Finance, because that will lessen their
that was my next question, Prof. Can we afford a 136 billion peso decline in revenues right now if we cut the excise taxes, which is going to be voted on tomorrow?
The question always is in relation to what, no? So 136 billion in relation to what, no? So right now I think we need to analyze ano yung 136 billion. Kung you're talking about the suffering, because again, let's face it, the direct impact of this is actually to the poor, no? So oil prices will directly hit yung mga transportation fares, and then the price of basic goods and services. So yung mga mayayaman, mga upper middle class, they will just go to the gas station and then have their cars filled with oil and then charge it to their credit card, and nothing, as if nothing happened, no? So ang pinaka-impact kasi niyan dun sa mga mahihirap, which is around 17.5 million Filipinos, no? So then how do you manage that 136 billion in relation to making sure that prices of goods and services are manageable, no? So that our food are still affordable, no? Kasi titingnan mo yan, this is that this is not happening in silo. This is happening side by side with our infrastructure agencies
Correct.
still managing to
Yes.
disburse funds. And what is the implication? If they are not able to disburse funds in the first and second quarter, and then you know that millions of our Filipinos would have a difficult time looking for a job, especially the construction workers. So kung wala kang pera on one hand, ng mga construction workers and all related jobs in relation to the construction industry. Tapos meron ka pang inflation dito
Oo.
sa kabilang side.
Medyo
Talagang
mahirap.
magsasuffer yung bottom of our population.
There's even the question of the possible repatriation of the OFWs in the Middle East and their need for jobs once they come to the Philippines. So nagdidebate din ng budget doon.
Yes, that really puts more pressure to our
Yeah.
government agencies, the infrastructure agencies, to really accelerate the procurement, accelerate the disbursement of payments to contractors so that money will circulate in our economy just to cushion the impact of inflation with more salaries.
Prof, are you in favor of the oil deregulation law from an economic perspective? Because this is precisely what's allowing at this point, di ba, sa different levels of pricing. You saw it in South Korea and China, they're able to cap the fuel prices right away. And now the government does not have the means to do this, just from a legal perspective.
Kasi kaya natin nilagay yung oil deregulation law because napaso tayo doon sa ganyang mga price controls, you know. So price controls is the most economically inefficient way of solving a problem, no. So again, ako mas okay ako doon sa strategic reserves, no. So supply and demand lang naman 'yan. Ang problema mo kapag may power ka to control price, it actually exacerbates the problem, no. So
Okay.
it produces black market. Whenever there's price control, there's black market.
That's
Because
true. Okay.
some people somewhere else will actually trade within outside the price control. No, so it's really inefficient, and we lost billions and billions of pesos because of that price control mechanism. No? So I think the way to do it is through strategic reserves and try to diversify our source for oil or the substitute for oil. And I think right now it's not that far, no, to imagine the situation that we can actually diversify our source of energy for our transportation sector and the logistics sector.
Can you nuance what is the impact of peso being at an all-time low to our economy right now?
Again, magagalit na naman ang ating mga viewers sa mga opinion ko, no? So, but for me, exchange rate is a natural stabilizer, no? So, especially for us that have OFW remittances, no? So, remember last year, 2025, nagkaroon tayo ng peso weakening, and that actually supported our export earnings, no? And our exports grew by 16% for the full year of 2025. So mayroon kang countervailing factor there, no? So kung nag-59 ka, so at least meron ka nadadagdagan ka. On one hand, medyo magdodoble yung price nung oil mo, but actually hindi naman 1:1 yung impact nung exchange rate mo to oil price increases, no. So and then on the other hand, yung palitan mo nung peso mo dito would actually benefit the OFW families here receiving the OFW remittances, no. Napakalaki kasi yung OFW, that's more than 10%
Tama.
of our economy. So imagine maglagay ka lang ng 5%, no, increase, o wag naman 5%, kahit 2%, 3%, that will serve as a cushion because it will actually provide the increase in the purchasing power that we're looking for to actually fight the inflation on the other side, no. So on the total, so I think magkokontrahan yung dalawa na yon, and that should provide the cushion that we are looking for as far as the demand and supply, no. So yun yung tinitingnan ko. So it's not
Is there a
that bad.
psychological level, Prof, that once the peso reaches that is so bad? You know, of course, 60 is there, and is the BSP making sure this doesn't happen by managing maybe our reserves or?
Yeah, I think lahat naman ng sobra ay masama, no. So for me, 3 to 5% of depreciation is actually good for our economy. Ngayon, ang
Okay.
problema niyan dahil sa speculation na mag-increase ka ng 10%, no? So yung 55 mo yung halimbawa yung 58 mo mag-increase to 61, 62, 63. Medyo nakakatakot naman 'yon, especially for our importers. Take note na marami sa mga binibili natin na mga daily goods and services are actually imported, no? And much of our food are actually imported, no? So delikado din 'yon. So I think just like inflation, in exchange rate should stay also within that range, no? Minus 3% to plus 3%. And
Okay.
and plus 3% I think favors our economy. But of course, outside the 3%, mag 5%, 10% yan, magkakagulo tayo kasi magkakaroon tayo ng imagination na, sinasabi mo nga, no, na baka psychological na lang to. Oh, no, kung tumataas na yung presyo ng langis, ng lahat ng bilihin, lahat ng ini-import ko, lahat ng ini-e-commerce ko, lahat ng ina-add to cart ko, mas mahal na. So, medyo nag-ano yun. Pero wag po nating kalimutan that meron kang kaakibat doon na increase in the purchasing power. Kung OFW
Earner ka.
remittance ka o earner ka, no, recipient ka nung OFW remittances, no. So yun po yung binabatay. In fact, for me, for us to really help in the growth of our economy, siguro minus i-assume natin, no, i-assume natin na medyo mag-stabilize na uli yung oil prices natin, no. So a 61 should be good for us to help our economy at least touch 5% for 2026.
Is that
in the
possible?
That is very possible.
5%,
Because to
okay.
begin, possible if we enter 61, no? So, but if we don't enter 61 territory, what will happen? The only way for us to hit 5% if our infrastructure agencies will actually recover to double-digit growth rate by the fourth quarter of this year. No, I
Okay.
cannot imagine them hitting double-digit by the second quarter. No, so because of their constraints in the procurement and in their budget. So that is
So
achievable.
clarify that for us, Prof. Given all of this, I know it's very difficult. I don't think the government has even revised their GDP projections at the moment. No, syempre, a lot of moving parts. But at least can we expect that it's going to be worse than last year, which already we saw the lowest GDP print in 5 years?
So number one, so nag 4.4% po tayo ng 2025 with the most corrupt national budget in history according to our legislators, no. So 4.4 in relation to world economy na 3%, US economy na 2%, Europe na 1% growth. Now 4.4 is still very, very high, no, in relation to the global economy, and we achieved 4.4 in the most corrupt national budget, no. So and it only happened because our government infrastructure agencies spent negative 42% in the fourth quarter.
Wow, yeah.
So
Hindi kaya.
that was the cause of our 3%. They spent negative 42 and we hit 3%. Imagine if they only hit 0% growth in this first quarter, we can actually hit 4% to 4.5%. But I cannot imagine they will hit I think siguro mga negative 20 or negative siguro ba ano pa sila mga negative 15%. So they will hit 0% siguro by the end of second quarter. no? So yun yung nakikita natin diyan. So they really have to spend the money they collected from the Filipinos. So because they are collecting on time, whenever we buy, whenever we earn, they collect on time. So they have to spend the money on time. So that is our only shield for this particular. There's no shield for this oil price increase, but to increase our income. And the way to
Okay.
increase our income is either by government spending or we actually have more businesses. So, but how can we have more businesses, no, if we are actually about to face inflation, no?
Correct.
So medyo ano
Won't
yan. So
consumers be tightening their belts right now? In fact, that's what the government is calling for, di ba? 4-day work week, stay home, do not spend too much money, turn off your electrical devices. What's consumption going to look like this year? And how are we going to, I mean, even now, and then inflation might be going up. I think you've got, you have BSP Gov saying he expects 4% inflation once the oil hits 100 per barrel, which has already surpassed that level, no? So medyo 4% beyond target inflation. What's the story now?
ah mahirap kasing ano yun yan, no? So yung again, the Philippine economy is described in two worlds, no? The world that have surpluses, no? We are the number one problem of the more than 80% of our economy is we are swimming with extra cash. We don't know what to do with it. But the problem of the bottom 20% or the bottom 15% is that they're living with 21 pesos per person per meal. That's the definition of food poverty. And if you're talking about inflation of another 5%, and if this escalates, if this is prolonged, no, we can talk about 8 to 10% inflation. It happened during the Ukraine-Russia war. We almost breached 8%.
My gosh.
So sabihin na lang natin 10% ng 21 pesos. That's 2 pesos. 21 pesos, sino sa mga nanonood sa atin ang magsasabing magsusurvive siya sa 21 and 17 million nating mga kababayan ang nabubuhay sa 21 pesos. Babawasan mo pa lang 2 pesos kasi nag-increase ang presyo ng bilihin ng 10%, no? So mas mababawasan pa yung budget niya on an effective manner. So kaya ang importante dito, talagang kailangan i-gather ng ating national government ang lahat ng pwedeng i-discount muna. Especially na alam natin na ito ay by the whim of the words of the President Trump, no? So hindi natin alam 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, pero habang nangyayari yon, I think we should give all the powers to the president so that he can make necessary decision at the real time,
Okay.
at a real time basis para yung discount immediate agad. Ngayon kapag wala na tong ano na to, totoo yung sinasabi ni Trump na tapos na nga talaga yung gera, o di ibalik yung mga taxes. Ganun lang naman po kasimple.
Well,
Bigyan
sana.
natin yan.
Let's hope
Kasi
for that.
ilang araw ka lang naman mabubuhay ng gutom, di ba? Ganun lang naman
Tama.
yun.
Alright. Well, maraming salamat, Prof, for joining us. And we will be getting your insights as this continues. This is a continuing story. Maraming salamat, Professor Ronilo Balbieran from the University of Asia and the Pacific. Good morning, Prof.
Maraming salamat po.
And at this point, let's also bring in Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. Good morning, Sec. I know that you only have 5 minutes. You're a very busy person right now. So can you very quickly summarize for our viewers, our consumers here, what they can expect in terms of the fuel and electricity prices, and what is the DOE doing about it?
I have time for you. Don't worry.
Oh, great. I will take all that time you can give us.
No, we as the trend is going to for the past 2 days, medyo umakyat palalo yung crude oil, ano. So there might be increases pa in the next week. So ngayon po na-announce na namin, we've already announced how much it will increase per company because we don't regulate the company's prices, no. Pero we published it so para more people know what the prices are, they can complain to us kung hindi sinusunod yung agreement.
Okay, you mentioned that you don't have control over the prices because you have the oil deregulation law, and a lot are looking at that right now because you have our Asian neighbors, you have South Korea, you have China putting caps on fuel prices. Business World quoted you as saying that that could possibly happen, but you need special powers, no? But now that they are fighting in Congress to give that for the fuel excise tax suspension, possibly for the ayuda disbursement. Could this not be an avenue that the DOE is looking at?
Yes, this is the time also to revisit this. We've been pushing for this amendment since I started as undersecretary pa, but it's about time that we visit this old law, and not it's not just for emergencies, no? Pero as a general naman, dapat naman talaga may control tayo ng konti sa presyo ng langis dito, and hopefully they can tackle that. That's not an immediate solution that we need now. We just need the prices to be tempered yung increase niya, no? So the immediate measures would be the assistance that we give to our drivers and farmers, and as well as hopefully they can bring down the tax also on the fuel.
What are you expecting to happen tomorrow? You will be that they are looking at this in Congress for the powers of the president, and how quickly can this be reflected into the pump prices if the fuel excise tax is indeed suspended?
They're deliberating now two measures. One is the authorizing the president to reduce or suspend excise tax on fuel. Sa diesel kasi that would be around 6 pesos. And then another option is like if there possibility of bringing in more imported biofuels, because those prices, the prices of biofuels are not as, how do you call that, proportionate yung increase niya sa increase ng petroleum. So pwede yan kasi i-add, parang additive siya sa fuel natin. So these are the two measures that we are pushing for, and hopefully it will be certified as urgent because we need this now. These are the immediate relief that we need now, and Congress, both Senate and the House, are hard at work. They've been here. They've had their hearing yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Kaya tuloy-tuloy po. Sana po ma-approve nila before they go on recess next week.
Okay. Let's go back to the pricing of the gasoline stations. As per our count, something like 71 were flagged and 55 were issued possible fraudulent pricing. How can we determine if these are fraudulent pricing? How can the people determine this for themselves? Kasi there's a hotline pa nga whether it's just part of their costing, as you mentioned, di ba? Paiba-iba kasi yung costing. How can we understand kung fraudulent ba to or part lang yan by oil deregulation, tapos bababa naman?
So every Tuesday, nagsa-start yung bagong presyo, or we announce the price, no? So we announced the price yesterday for today's prices announced. We've also issued a directive na dapat walang galawan, no? No unreasonable or unjustified increases. So we've issued that already last week para for the time being na dapat walang unreasonable profiteering, let's say. So for us kasi ang ginawa namin yesterday was publish the rates, and each company has their own prices. It can vary from 19 pesos to 24 pesos yung increase. Pero what happened last week was when there were rumors and there was panic about the impending price increase, marami po sa gas stations started increasing their prices already, which was not justified. So that's why we issued so-called orders to them, giving them 24 hours to defend themselves. Pero before we even sent the so-called orders, we sent the police already to investigate. That's why we investigated before we issued this so-called orders.
Realistically, what are the repercussions?
Will cancel their permits and they cannot operate
immediately.
Anymore. Yes, ma'am.
There are also reports, we have reporters on the ground seeing out-of-stock placards in gas stations. What does that mean? Totoo bang may shortage or is that another way to manage the pricing?
Now,
And what can be done?
There are valid and justified and unjustified reasons for that. One, kasi pumila yung mga tao at nagpaggas and their storage is only limited. Baka naubos naman talaga. It's possible kasi we can understand naman the response of the public kasi kung ako rin, inutusan ko na yung driver ko magpagas na eh. And second is if it's not justified, if they're just storing and refusing to sell, then that's not legal what they're doing. That's profiteering na or hoarding na nga eh. So that if it's not reasonable, it's not justified, then we send them a show cause order, and if they can give us a proper answer, then we'll cancel their permits also.
Sec, just going back to tomorrow's deliberation on the excise taxes, no, because a lot are watching that because malaking baba ng presyo, no, hindi pa tayo sure dyan. What are you, as a DOE, speaking with the DOF on what's a good compromise here?
Where if it's just DOE, then our mandate is to get the lowest price for fuel and electricity.
Yeah.
But I do understand that there are fiscal limitations in that sense kasi hindi naman pwede na i-negative natin kaagad at will affect also the basic services. Ang kung may ayuda tayo, baka affected yung ayuda din natin because we're losing a lot of money because of the excise reduction. So they're doing the simulations now. The situation is fluid because anything can happen. It can go up or go down. But they're doing several scenarios. So they're checking if it's 2 months, 3 months, or how much being reduced, 2 pesos pa, 4 pesos, or lahat. So it's something that I would leave to the economic managers. Kasi sa kanila yan eh. And it's their proposal actually, DOF, yung reduction of excise tax.
From a broader perspective, now there's focus also on why we only have 1 to 2 months reserves. Is this something that can be reviewed? You have Japan with 1 year reserves, so parang how can we make sure that this situation is more, let's say, manageable in the future?
Yeah, I agree. It gives us so much instability. Unfortunately, we have been lagging in the exploration part because I do believe that we have resources in the Philippines, whether oil or gas. Gas, at least now we have one additional na exploration. And now, and last year, we really ramped up exploration contracts. We should have done this 10 years ago. So one of the our faults, including my department, is the exploration of our gas and oil fields. Kasi that would have been minimized our exposure to the international market. Second, about the stocks, because Japan is a refinery, so does South Korea and some of these countries. We only have one. And that limits our capacity to have a buffer. Siguro it's time, and actually we're studying it already. Now we should have more refinery and learn from the lesson why these companies left the Philippines, closed down their refineries. Baka kailangan better conditions for this kind of investment, at least ma-assure tayo. Second, ang stocks na what you mentioned, why do we have less or just this much? Actually, it's more than what we require. We require 15 days actually na buffer nila. When we investigated and checked what is here and what is coming en route na, it's nearing about 57 days last week, so probably about 50 days now. What's good about that is that we can order. Now we have time to order. Whether it's way far from the other side of the world, kuha tayo ng diesel doon, we still have time for the delivery to come on time. Ang problem kasi if you have too much stock, if we require too much, it's also money. They have to invest in purchasing the products and also the storage capacity nila.
What about reducing our reliance on the Middle East with all this conflict? 98% of crude oil coming from them. Are we diversifying the risk in that sense?
I think this is a deregulated industry, and it's the companies that decide. But I think we all, I mean, the whole world learned from this lesson, from this incident. So now, after several, we've been meeting with the oil companies several times, is to explore other options. So kahit sabihin mo na we still get there, but at least we have, parang don't put all your eggs in one basket na, no? Because there are options. Australia can supply, US, North America, South America, Africa, Europe. There are other options. Price points are different, but we have to balance the risk and the price. So ang risk niyan is that baka mag-close yung almost and on the other side is the price, kasi the farther it is, the source, the more expensive is the insurance and the transportation.
So it's a geographical issue. That's why we get it from the Middle East. I think
it's not geographical. It's the what's happening in the industry now. Tumaas talaga yung insurance kasi, di ba? If you go to Strait of Hormuz, baka bombahin ka ng either side. So the insurance companies are putting a high premium, or in fact not giving insurance na.
Okay, let's turn our attention to energy and electricity, and we might be seeing, second round effects of inflation on the electricity costs. You have Sec Edilion saying 16% rise in electricity costs if the war continues. Can you comment on that, and if there is any way for the, at least it's regulated to some extent, no, compared to oil?
Yes, I was the one who said that during the hearing yesterday.
Because we attributed to Edilion. Go ahead.
It's okay. Baka siya yung sisihin It's 16% if we go business as usual. So for us, kasi that means DOE has to do double the work to minimize this effect and to avoid that much of an increase. Kaya interventions have to be done by especially DOE and of the other agencies also para ma-avoid natin to. And we're trying to look for other sources of electricity, other sources of fuel. How do we play the market now? So many things. Are there renewable energy companies that can magbato na ng electricity in sa grid natin? So many options we're trying to explore now. We're having a core group with ERC, IMAP, DOE, and all the other agencies para how can we temporarily keep the prices at a reasonable rate. Those are things that we are attempting, and hopefully we can do that. It's a challenge for us, but with that, knowing that means that we have to, at least we can plan.
All right, well, all hands on deck today, especially the government, especially tomorrow, and good luck with that, and we are looking forward to positive developments on that front.
But also, I wanted to I'm optimistic about the supply, and we're making sure that whenever you go to your gas station, meron gas, no? May mga areas na talaga na nauubusan dahil ang daming pumila. But that's what the government is trying to do, and hopefully the public can respond na we can also be responsible with our consumption, the fuel savings, and let's try naman to minimize or bawasan yung gastos natin para we all help each other, no? We all help our country. Thank you.
Let's get through this together, and thank you very much for spending your morning with us. Thank you, Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. Good morning, Sec. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we have given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Dani Laurel. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.